Hi everyone, welcome to Great Glen Yoga. My name's Rachel, and by popular demand I am going to take you through a gentle yoga sequence that's going to focus on our legs. So it's specifically for tired legs. So if you've been using your legs an awful lot this week, if you've been doing a lot of walking, a lot of other workouts or activity, and you're just feeling like you need to give your legs a little bit of love, this is a really great practice for you. So nice and short as well. So if you're a little bit low on time, this is something that you can hopefully still integrate into your day. Props wise, might be useful to have a block available or a cushion or a pillow. We might use that towards the end, but other than that, you're not going to need anything else other than your mat. So we are going to begin in a butterfly fold. So we're going to take the soles of the feet together to touch, and then the knees just falling away to either side. With a butterfly fold, there's kind of lots of variations on this that you can do, and it really depends on your hip flexibility, kind of what you're looking for, kind of which part of the leg that you're really wanting to target. So you can play around a little bit with the angle of the knees. So you might come into something that's a little bit more of a right angle with the knees and the feet. And this can feel really nice when you're coming over and into kind of the outside of the hip, a little bit into the glutes, the outside of the thighs. That can feel really lovely. Or you might want to bring the feet a little bit closer into the body. And this is wonderful for targeting the inner thigh area as well. So if that's where you're feeling that kind of tiredness or that sensation, then having the feet, a little bit further into the body can be a really great place to start. So I think today I'm going to go a little bit further out actually, because that was feeling really nice as I was demonstrating. So just going to bring the legs and knees on a bit of a right angle and then just start to fold forward over the body. We're making this quite a passive fold, so we're kind of not pulling forward on the feet, just allowing the head to bow, taking the arms out in front of us, and just making sure that this feels nice and relaxed. And just feeling that sensation wherever you've decided to place the legs, just feeling that lovely stretch in the area that that's targeting. And you'll also feel this along the spine as well. It should feel really nourishing. And don't worry about how far your head comes down. The important thing is the legs here and just getting that stretch, however much of a stretch feels comfortable for you. And you can always have, if you want, a little pillow under the head, if that's useful for you. Just make this your own. And just rising back up to a seated position, just using the arms to help us come all the way back up. And we can bring the knees and the legs back up together, and we're going to come over into a kneeling position. So just swivel over onto your knees and take a moment just to center yourself on your mat. We're going to come into a low lunge now. So if you come over into a tabletop position, so we've got our hands underneath our shoulders, knees underneath the hips, and we're going to bring the right foot in front of us in between those palms. So just step the right foot up to the center of the mat, in between the palms, and we can relax that left foot down to the ground. And this just, I think, is a wonderful stretch for the legs. If you've done any kind of intense activity and the legs are feeling a little bit fragile, this stretch is just wonderful. So we're really getting into the hip flexor here on the left leg. We're doing a bit of work into the right glute, into the right thigh, and that can just feel absolutely fantastic. If the hands don't quite reach the ground, or if you feel that that's a little bit of extra weight on the wrists that doesn't feel so good, you can come over onto the fists, or if you do have blocks, you can bring the height a little bit higher up and work from there. So just gazing forward, feeling that lovely stretch in the left hip flexor, the right glute, the right thigh. Nice, steady breathing. And coming from here into our pigeon pose. So just with our right leg kind of in front of us, we're just going to change the position of that right leg to help us to come into pigeon pose. So we're just going to lean back a little bit on the right leg there, on the left leg there, sorry, and start to bring the right leg down to the floor in front of us. Palms come a little bit further forward just to give ourselves the space that we need. And what we're looking for with our pigeon pose is, you might find that some people will have this right leg at a bit more of a right angle, so the shin will be parallel to the front of the mat, but really this right leg can be anywhere in front of you. So if it's on a bit more of an angle with the right toes pointing towards the left hip, absolutely fine, wherever it needs to be, because what we're doing is just trying to create that lovely stretch along the right thigh there. And you'll feel that in whichever kind of variation of the shape you end up in. We're just going to enjoy being in an upright pigeon here. And just feeling the stretch, as I say, into that right hip, right thigh. And then also we've still got that sensation in the left hip flexor at the front of the left thigh. I think this is probably one of my favourite poses for dealing with tired or sort of weak legs or any kind of pain in the legs. I just find this so nourishing and so soothing. And then let's take our forearms down to the floor if that's accessible for you. And you can either remain here just for this more folded version of the pose, or bring the forehead. So we're taking that slight back bend out of the pose that we had when we were upright, and you'll just feel a little more sensation probably in that right from the folded version. The important thing here is just keep breathing, concentrate on your breathing, and enjoy the sensation. Rising back up onto the palms of the hands. We're going to come back into our tabletop position before moving to the other side. So we can tuck the toes of the left foot under, rise up onto the left knee and swing the right leg back behind us to join the left leg. And just coming back into that tabletop position, just feeling the effects of that lovely pigeon pose on the right before we come to the left. So as we did before, we're just going to step the foot forward in between the palms to come into our lunge. So if your toes were still curled up on the right foot, you can just relax those down to the ground. Palms come to the floor. Gaze comes forward. And we just sink into this pose. And again, you can come onto the fists if there's a bit too much pressure on the wrist or the palm. Keeping the shoulders down and away from the ears. And let's lean back a little bit onto the right knee to give ourselves space to come into our pigeon pose. So we're taking the toes of the right foot behind, of the left foot, sorry, behind the right wrist. Coming down onto the palms and settling ourselves down onto the mat. And again, it's all about just finding the version of this pose that works for you. One of the other things that you can do is if you find that the hip on this side is quite the way off the ground, you can always have a block or a pillow just sitting under there just to give yourself a little bit more support. Getting used to the pose, getting used to the sensation. So again, we're going to feel in our straight leg that sensation in the hip flexor at the front of the leg. And then on our bent leg, we'll feel that pull around the hip and the outer thigh. Just getting used to that sensation. And then we can start to come down into our folded version. So down onto the forearms to begin with. And if this feels like the best place to remain, then do so. That's perfect. And if you'd like to, come a little further forward, resting the forehead on the hands. Easing our way out of the pose, back up onto the palms. Put a little bit of extra weight onto the right knee, curl the toes, and bring the left foot back to join. We're just going to kneel here for a second and just feel the effects of those two quite intense poses for the legs. Left hand just comes to face up, sitting on the right palm. Opening up the eyes, let's come down onto our backs. So just coming down into a seated position to begin with, and then easing our way down onto our backs. Taking both legs out long for a second. And just find a place on your mat that feels the most comfortable for you. And then bringing soles of the feet back to the mat. Take the right leg in towards the chest, clasp your hands around it, bringing that right knee in. And you can keep your left leg bent as it is now, or if you'd like to just increase the sensation, you can straighten out the left leg here. And what can feel really nice in this position, and this is what I always like to do when I first come into a knee to chest pose, is to just gently rock the leg in and out from the body. And what you're doing there is just providing a little bit of a massage to the right hip flexor. So if you think back to the poses we've just done, there's been a lot of stretching there for the hip flexors. So this is just a lovely way of just providing a little bit of soothing to that area of the body. So just do as much of that action as you'd like, and then we can be still. The left foot comes back to the mat, release the right foot down, and then let's take the right foot and just rest it on top of the left knee. And you can remain in this position if this feels enough, if you're getting enough sensation down the outside of the right leg, or if you'd like to, you can lift the left foot off the mat and draw the legs in towards the chest, and you can clasp the hands either behind the left thigh or behind the left calf, whichever feels best to you and whichever level of intensity feels the best today. And you will just start to feel that really nice sensation on the outside of the right leg. And again here, I quite like to do just a gentle rocking action just in the first part of the pose. Can feel really nice on the spine. And release the left foot down to the mat. Take the right foot down to join it, and we'll come over and do those poses on the second side. So we're bringing the left knee in towards the chest, and again, you can keep the right foot grounded, or you can extend the right leg out long. Try that little massaging effect again on this side. See how that feels. Just bringing the leg in and out gently. And coming into figure 4 pose on the second side, right foot comes back down to the floor, left foot joins it, and then we're just going to take the left foot across the right knee. And again, keeping that knee pointed outwards so we're not kind of allowing it to curl in. And if this feels enough, then stay there with the right foot grounded. If you'd like a little bit more intensity, bring the right leg in towards you, clasping behind the thigh or behind the calf. And again, just keeping that knee pointed out, don't let it curl in. This will just intensify that sensation and also protect the left knee, which is really important. Again, just that gentle massage of the spine against the mat. And release the feet back down to the mat. We'll come into our final pose for this sequence, which is going to be waterfall pose, which is just one of the nicest things you can ever do for your legs and your lower body. So with the feet still planted, grab a block or grab a pillow or a cushion, anything that just elevates the hips slightly. Press into the feet and pop that just underneath the hips, just on the flatter part of the back, the sacrum. And then we're just going to lift the legs up and just allow ourselves to become weightless. This is wonderful for circulation, wonderful for recovery when you have done a lot of work with the legs, when they've had quite an intense time. Just giving them this opportunity to be completely weightless is just wonderful, wonderful recovery. Your legs will thank you. And arms can just be by your side, doing nothing, nothing to do here. And to come out of this pose, although you really may not want to, just bring the feet back down to the mat. Press into the feet and remove whatever prop you were using and pop that off to the side. Extend the legs out long, palms by your side, hands facing up. And we'll just rest here, just feeling the effects of that pose, enjoying the sensations, and hopefully the legs will be feeling soothed and nourished as a result of that practice. Thank you so much for joining me for this gentle yoga practice for tired legs. I hope it's done the job. Keep returning to this if you need it. Anytime when the legs have taken on a bit too much. And hopefully this will always help. And I hope to see you again on the mat again really soon. Thank you.